Hello, a very good afternoon and welcome to a slightly damp and a slightly sodden Phillip Island here in Australia as MotoGP returns down under for the first time in 3 years. Jack Appleyard and Simon Crafar here for the next 20 minutes to talk you through everything you can expect in the upcoming final 3 rounds of 2022 because it's crunch time in the championship chase, Simon. Now, only 2 points separating Fabio Quartararo and Pecco Bagnaia in the title chase. We're going to talk in depth about the pair of them. But firstly, on Fabio Quartararo, after what I think can only be described as a disaster day in Thailand 2 weeks ago. Failed to score a point in the wet weather conditions in Buriram, and that has seen his title leads pretty much evaporated down to nothing. Only 2 points now, as we've said, separating himself and Italian Pecco Bagnaia. So how do you see the championship picture ahead of these final 3 rounds of the year?
Well, we're starting with Fabio. We haven't heard from him, obviously, but listening to all of the rider debriefs after the race in Thailand, a lot of riders got caught out because they hadn't had wet practice with overheating, or basically the tyre pressure going up too much, like we've heard in the dry. And a lot got caught by that, including Carl Crutchlow, and he spoke in depth about it, and how basically the front started locking in a straight line, couldn't turn, and I suspect Fabio had the same problem. I mean, we're going to hear from him tonight. He'll confirm that, but I do feel sorry for him, you know, that happened and he got no points, you know, towards his championship fight. And the last races have been a disaster. I think it was all a little bit much for him. And he's, as you said, come under some real criticism for not turning up to those media debriefs. I doubt whether he'll do that again. He's been given a hard time about it. The thing is, I mean, I agree that riders, even if it doesn't go well, should face the music, you know, face the press and that. But I think, you know, to all the people that have been giving him a hard time about it, I've sat through hours of Fabio's debriefs. He's had incredible patience with all the press people, answering some great questions, some very average ones, and he's always been so patient, so kind. He's one of the kinder ones. There's a lot of good riders out there with the press. He's one of them, and give him a break, because it was obviously too much for him. He was absolutely gutted, you know, to do that. He must have been at his wit's end, you know, and just let him off this time. If he was not very good often, I would be joining in going, he's got to sort this out. But he's been awesome for years, so let's give him a break.
To play devil's advocate, on the other side of the coin, he is the MotoGP World Champion. He's the man currently leading the World Championship as well, at a vital point in the season as well. Looking back at previous champions, Marc Marquez in particular, you know, obviously doesn't have very many bad days, but even so, when he did, would always front up and face the press. Was that criticism, as you say, maybe a little bit too much, but in some regards justified? That it's been 2 weeks, we haven't heard from him. He's obviously suspended his social media channels. What does that say about the mental state that he's in at this crucial point in the season? And as I said, is it justified to a certain extent?
I think that we should have heard something. For example, his team should have put a recorder under his chin and said, give us something that we can put out there. That should have happened, I think. But I'm only saying what I said because I understand what it's like to be at your wit's end and you're not going to do a good job of it. You're going to upset some people. When you do get in that debrief, you're going to lose your rag. And the thing is about debriefs, you have to relive everything, and it's extremely hard. Look, I understand both sides. I really do. And it's a professional job, and he's, like you said, the world champion. But I just think everyone needs a break occasionally as well. He obviously was at the end of his tether.
And as a result of that, he's obviously been hemorrhaging points to Pecco Bagnaia in the title chase. At one stage in the season, it was 91, now down to 2. Ever since we've returned from the summer break, he's failed to really get the second half of the season going other than a great performance in Austria, finishing second to Pecco there, the fact that he didn't speak to the media in Thailand, as we've said, suspended his social media channels, is clearly taking a break away from this side of the sport. Is this the weekend where the tide has to change? Otherwise, the title is gone?
I see it like that. I mean, we've been wrong predicting where the Yamaha's going good, you know, like, and where it's not, because he did well in Austria. I sure didn't see that coming. The thing is, Phillip Island, like Silverstone and Assen, it's got similar traits, and I think that Fabio's going to go really well here. I mean, he's got to look at it. His last real chance, you know, I mean, there's Valencia as well. I think Sepang's going to be really hard because you've got slow corners leading onto long straights repeatedly and hard braking at the end of them, which he's good at. Anyway, I see Phillip Island as the real chance that he could win, stand on the top step again. So I think he's going to be aiming at grabbing it with both hands.
You say Sepang will be hard. Maio Meregali himself has admitted that he feels that Fabio needs a fairly sizable championship lead going to Valencia to be able to win the championship, given how dominant Ducati were last year. Locked out the front row, locked out the podium. We're in a different league, and it's difficult to see it going in any other direction in 2022, which is bad news for Fabio, but excellent news for Pecco Bagnaia, who is now closing in on leading a MotoGP World Championship for the first time in his career. Will that be weighing on his mind? We've seen Pecco time and time again get to this position of closing in, and then when it's time to strike, a mistake has happened.
Drops the ball, yeah.
Can you see that happening this weekend?
I mean, I see that the Ducati hasn't got any weaknesses anymore. Like Valencia, like you said, I mean, should be the old Ducati's nightmare, you know. And Phillip Island with the big fast turns and fast change of direction wasn't a strength. But they haven't, you know, wind, it really affects, always did, not anymore. They haven't got any weaknesses. So, look, Pecco, if he does the job, you know, rides like he can, because he's damn fast, he's on the best motorcycle, he should win. If Ducati don't win this year, the way I look at it, it's like, will they ever, you know? They should win this championship, you know? And it's going to take an awesome rider to beat them, you know, because they're on lesser machinery, you know, and so he's got to be the favourite from here. It's up to him from here.
And we just saw Marc Marquez on screen there. I thought it was incredibly interesting what he said post Buriram when someone asked him, who is your favourite for the championship? And he said, my favourite is Pecco's bike. Marc, up to his old tricks, as usual. But is it hard to disagree with him?
I completely agree with him. You know, that's how I feel as well. And the thing is, Marc and Fabio, and you know, and Alex Rins, you know, have been doing, and Aleix have been doing an incredible job to battle them. You know, and so really, I've got to say it again: Ducati should win this championship. If they don't, it's like.
And I think you could almost say part of what Marc was saying was, given what happened in that Thai Grand Prix, Johan Zarco finding incredible late race pace to rush through the field, make mincemeat of Marc Marquez, which is very rarely the case. And then suddenly his momentum stopped behind Pecco Bagnaia. We all assumed at the time that Ducati's much talked of team orders were finally coming into play. And Johan did admit himself afterwards that that was exactly what was happening. We then saw a video come out later. Our cameras caught both Davide Tardozzi and Gigi Dell'Igna walking straight into the Pramac box following the race to offer their thanks for Johan's help. What did you make of that, Simon?
I mean, I agree with them thanking Pramac. I just wouldn't have done it on camera. It was like a little bit cringy, you know. I was like, oh. But I agree with him thanking him because I think he did it, you know. The thing is, I think Johan Zarco was honest with us, like he usually is, I think always is in the press, the media scrums afterwards. He said that he'd basically Ducati had said, if you can win, go ahead and win. And because he struggled at the beginning of the race, he thought, I don't think I can win. There's not enough laps to get Miguel. And so, rather than risk passing, making a mistake and possibly taking out Pecco, because it's pretty hard. Everyone's struggling on those wet tyres, moving around. And if you try to outbrake someone, there's a good chance that you're going to do a Aleix and bump Brad off the track. Yeah, that's why I think it wasn't that bad that what Aleix did, because it's damn hard to pass, especially with those tyres moving around, lack of grip. So he said, rather than risk doing that and only get third or second, let's just sit here, don't get a podium all, and win some big, I'd say brownie points, but I'll say ready points from Ducati, you know.
One question I want to ask Davide Tardozzi in pit lane this weekend is whether Johan got his podium bonus from Ducati.
That's a good one.
It'd be interesting to know whether, as a little thank you, they went, there you go, a little side pocket earner.
Ask him that, because I
Absolutely.
think Johan deserves it.
We'll go find him and ask the question. Johan admitted he didn't think he could win the race. Personally, I disagree. He caught Pecco with 4 or 5 laps remaining, and at that point was between 3/4 of a second to a second quicker than anybody else on track. If that wasn't Pecco Bagnaia in front of him and he'd have made the move, was Jack and Miguel in striking distance, do you believe? If that was any other rider than Johan Zarco, a man that's won a MotoGP race before, potentially having more belief in his ability to go forward and win the race, could he have done it?
Well, what it all boils down to is Johan, I believe, didn't believe that he could win. He calculated where he was, the distance to Miguel. He thought it was out of reach to win with the laps left. So that's the important thing. He didn't believe that he could get there. Maybe the team, or the rest of us watching, I think he could have. The thing is, I just said it's so hard to pass. So you need a good bit of speed more to be able to get by. And I think he would have got hooked up as he got to the faster guys. And I don't think would have got past Miguel. That's only my feeling. So I think he was right.
In the end, he decided to sit behind Pecco and come across the line in 4th place. Ahead of Pecco was Australian Jack Miller, P2, meaning that Miller has gone victory in Japan, P2 in Thailand, married last weekend, a big celebration in his hometown of Townsville, and now returns home for the first time in 3 years in the factory red of Ducati. He admitted in our pre-event that we held in Melbourne yesterday that it is the month of dreams. He's riding a crest of a wave. Surely you couldn't this weekend, Simon, could you?
I love this story and where it's going. It's romantic in lots of senses. I put Jack in the group of people who should have the biggest motivation to stand on the top step this weekend. Jack, because it's his home race and he's on form. I think he has the bike, he has the ability, and he has the motivation. So don't count him out for the top step. So the other people that should have the most motivation, and that's beautiful, is, I think, obviously Fabio, but also Aleix. And
yes.
Like I said, this circuit is similar to Silverstone and similar traits to Silverstone and Assen, where he was brilliant fast. He was knocked around at Silverstone. We didn't see his potential, but he felt he had the best machine at Assen, and he showed it, So I think this is Aleix's best chance. Sorry to get off track, but I put Jack in the same group of people with everything, all the ingredients to win. So, fingers crossed he's at least fighting for it.
We're looking, obviously, at both Fabio and Pecco, separated by only 2 points at the front of the championship, but Aleix 20 points adrift, Jack 40 points adrift. He admitted that it's a long shot, but I'm a dreamer, I think, was the official quote from Jack. As you mentioned, on Aleix, similar to Fabio, you feel that if that title charge, this dream of winning it with Aprilia, is to come to fruition, things have to change this weekend.
The old Aleix, I would be doubting, that he's going to come back. But what I've seen him do repeatedly this year is fight his way out of things, bad times, and brilliantly, and he's ridden well. The machine has worked well, all except Thailand, and possibly Indonesia, the places where that hard rear, Austria, places where the hard construction, the stronger construction rear tyre was at, they've struggled, but that's not here. And I really believe he has from what we've seen this year, the ability and the machine and the motivation to fight for that top step, like I said. So I think I'll be really surprised if he's not right at the front in the race if it's dry on Sunday.
Those are the four men we're going to hear from very shortly indeed. Pecco Bagnaia, Fabio Quartararo, Jack Miller and Aleix Espargaro. But don't go anywhere after that press conference, because we'll then be hearing from, firstly, our Thai Grand Prix winner, Miguel Oliveira. Second win of 2022, yet again in wet conditions. But as he said afterwards, a win's a win. You're always going to take it, once again showcasing his talent.
Class. It's why I think, and more people will believe me now that he's just won again, that I think he has the ability to do the same in the dry. And we've seen it before in the dry in Catalunya.
Yeah.
Amazing ride, very similar to that, but in the dry, just go. And I think we're going to see it again next year, whether it's on the Aprilia. So he's not just a wet, master of the rain.
No, not at
all. The guy is class, and when he's got the machine under him that he's happy with, in the setting, and he can do that. So I fully expect him to do it next year and even repeatedly. Maybe not win repeatedly, but be fighting at the front, and even for the title is my guess next year. I think if he makes friends with that Aprilia, he'll be fighting for the title next year. I really do.
I agree.
In the front group.
I think he'll be a real dark horse going into 2023. One man that won't be a dark horse next year and this weekend as well, will be joining Miguel in the press conference, is Marc Marquez. Phillip Island, of course, an anti-clockwise circuit, and when you pair that with Marc Marquez, there's normally, Simon, only one result, and that's him stood on the top step of the podium. Is he arguably one of the big favourites for this weekend?
Definitely. You said it. Anti-clockwise circuit. He's coming back. He's admitting that the arm, even though it was tired on Sunday, and he was glad it rained because it was running, but it's getting better every, energy-wise. And he said that the arm isn't causing him any problems. It's just energy, getting stronger. He's going to be good. I mean, he's brilliant here. He's showed awesome ability and to win here in the past. I really think he's coming into this weekend expecting to fight for that top step. That's what I believe. One other thing is, it looks like we're going to get a lack of practice,
Yes, the weather.
because of wet.
Yeah.
And I'd like to repeat what I said in commentary last race, is there's 3 guys that stand out to me. There's another couple close, but standout guys are quickly to get up to pace with a lack of practice is Alex Rins, Fabio Quartararo and Marc. And what I'm saying is, I expect them to hit the ground Saturday if that's the first dry time and be right there, and that could help with the lack of dry track time, help in their favour.
And this was his performance last time out in Thailand, eventually coming across the line in 5th, but you just feel that through one reason or another, things just haven't gone his way. First race back in Aragon, he obviously made that mistake on the opening lap, which caused him to retire. An issue with the bike, I believe, in the opening couple of laps in Japan. In Thailand, he just wasn't able to get the feeling. But there have been real signs throughout all 3 of those weekends that the Marc that we've grown to know and love is there, and it's ready to burst out of the seams.
I think he's completely on target for his goal, which is be ready for 2023 to fight for the championship. And that's, great.
Yeah.
But I believe he is very concerned about the machine. He's not said that, but it's putting everything together when you watch what he says, what I mean, how you imagine being, what he's been achieving lately, what is possible, because I say he quickly gets up to speed like those other 2, Rins and Quartararo, but they get up to the potential of their motorcycle quickly. Then the Ducatis come marching by with more track time because the potential of their bike is higher. So what I think is Marc is very concerned that Honda improve, because Honda have 3 fantastic riders next year.
Yeah,
arguably the best team of riders any manufacturer has, And if they improve the bike, they're going to be a real danger. If they don't, they're not.
Of course, one of them joining next year will be Joan Mir, who makes his injury turn this weekend. Great to see the Spaniard back. It's going to be a difficult weekend for Joan, but good to see that he's going to be here for the final 3 rounds. And I think important for him that he's back as well. It's been a year to forget as 2022. So if the Mallorcan can find his feet, growing confidence over the final 3 races, that could be a huge, huge help to him going into what's obviously going to be a massive year, being Mark's teammate in 23.
That's intimidating when you say it like that. Yeah, daunting. And he's going there without support, meaning without his people. He's jumping into Mark's den. I haven't thought much about Joan Mir in this weekend, but this is off the cuff. The guy's class. He goes very well at Phillip Island. I think he's just going to hit the ground running and be fast anyway. I really do. One
of many contenders this weekend as we return to Phillip Island for the first time in 3 years. A bumper evening coming your way. Then we'll hear from 4 of our 5 title contenders, including Fabio Quartararo, as the Frenchman breaks his silence for the first time in 2 weeks. Following that, you'll hear from, as we said, Miguel Oliveira, Marc Marquez, home hero Remy Gardner, and Moto3's Ethan Guevara, as the Mallorcan looks to wrap up the Moto3 World Championship this weekend. Thank you very much for joining us, Simon. We'll hand over to Matt Burt now, and of course, enjoy this weekend here at Phillip Island.